You're finally looking with your own eyes. This is the gallery experience.
Why we look at other people looking at art. When you walk into a gallery, you probably think you're there to look at the art. But watch the people around you. You may notice something strange. People aren't only looking at paintings. They're looking at each other. Someone stops in front of a large canvas. You notice. Someone takes a photograph. You look to see what they're photographing. A small crowd gathers around one artwork. And suddenly, you want to know what everyone else is looking at. Why? Because the gallery experience isn't only about art. It is also about people. Human beings are naturally curious about where other people are looking. In everyday life, if someone suddenly looks toward the ceiling, you may look up too. If several people stop and stare at something on the street, you become curious. You want to know what they know. The same thing happens inside a gallery. Someone's attention becomes a signal. It tells us there might be something important here. So we follow their eyes. And sometimes, we discover something wonderful. But sometimes, we discover something else. A painting that isn't particularly interesting to us, but now we feel that it should be. This is one of the subtle ways other people influence our experience of art. We don't like to think of ourselves as followers. We like to believe that our taste is independent. But our environment constantly gives us information about what deserves attention. The crowd around a famous painting is one example. Imagine walking into a huge museum. There are hundreds of artworks. Most rooms are relatively quiet. Then you enter one room and see dozens of people standing around a single painting. People are taking photographs. Some are whispering. Others are pointing at details. You may not even know what the painting is. But you immediately become curious. You walk closer. You look. And before you've had a chance to form your own opinion, the crowd has already told you something. This painting matters. Maybe it does. But perhaps the crowd itself has become part of the experience. This is especially interesting with famous artworks. Sometimes people spend more time taking photographs of a masterpiece than actually looking at it. They stand in front of it. Hold up their phones. Take a picture. Then move on. Later, they may have hundreds of photographs from their trip. But how many images do they actually remember? And how many paintings did they truly experience? Photography has changed the gallery experience. We can preserve everything. But because we can photograph everything, we sometimes stop looking carefully at anything. The camera becomes a substitute for memory. We tell ourselves, I'll look at it later. But later, the photograph may sit among thousands of other photographs. The actual experience, the feeling of standing there, cannot always be recovered. There is another fascinating behavior to observe. Watch how people position themselves in front of art. Some stand very close. Some stand far away. Some move from side to side. Some bend down. Some lean forward. Some barely look at all. And then there are people who read the entire museum label before looking at the painting. Others refuse to read the label until after they have formed their own opinion. Neither approach is necessarily right or wrong. They simply reveal different ways of experiencing art. And sometimes, people are watching each other for another reason. They want to know how they are supposed to behave. How long should I look? How close should I stand? Should I talk? Should I be quiet? Can I take a photograph? Can I laugh? Can I say that I don't like it? A gallery has invisible rules. Most of us learn them simply by watching other people. We see everyone speaking quietly, so we lower our voices. We see people standing a certain distance from the artwork, so we do the same. We see everyone reading labels, so we read them too. The behavior of the crowd teaches us how to behave. But something even more interesting happens when someone breaks the pattern. Imagine a person standing in front of a painting for 10 minutes. Everyone else spends 30 seconds and walks away. You might wonder, what are they seeing? What did they notice? Why are they still there? Their attention can make us curious. And perhaps that is one of the best things another visitor can do for us. They can slow us down. Sometimes we need another person to remind us that we don't have to rush. There is also a more personal reason we watch other people in galleries. We are curious about their reactions. Does that painting make them happy? Are they disturbed? Are they confused? Are they moved? Are they pretending to understand? We can't hear their thoughts. So we watch their faces. And in doing so, we begin creating stories about strangers. A person standing in front of a portrait may remind us of someone we know. An older visitor may spend a long time looking at a painting of an elderly woman. A young couple may laugh quietly in front of a provocative artwork. A child may ignore a famous masterpiece and become fascinated by a tiny painting in the corner. And suddenly, the visitors themselves become part of the exhibition. The gallery contains two kinds of art: the art hanging on the walls, and the human behavior happening in front of it. And sometimes the second is just as fascinating. Think about the person who walks straight past the most famous painting in the museum. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they've seen it before. Maybe they're looking for something else. Or maybe the painting simply doesn't speak to them. That can be a valuable reminder. We don't all have to stop at the same artwork. We don't all have to feel the same thing. And we don't all have to agree. Perhaps the healthiest way to experience a gallery is to notice other people's reactions without allowing those reactions to replace our own. Let the crowd make you curious. But then step away from the crowd. Stand alone. Look again. Ask yourself what you see when nobody else is telling you what to see. Because sometimes, the most interesting moment in a gallery happens after everyone else has walked away. You are standing there alone. The room is quiet. There is no crowd. No camera. No conversation. No one watching you. And finally, you can look at the painting without wondering what anyone else thinks. At that moment, the gallery becomes very different. It becomes personal. And perhaps that is the real gallery experience. Not simply seeing what everyone else sees, but discovering what you see when everyone else disappears. This is the gallery experience.